Today, we are diving into a masterpiece that was born from the deepest kind of tragedy. We're talking about a poem so powerful, so raw, that it's believed to have actually cost its author his life.
And that, right there, is the question at the very heart of this. Can words be that beautiful, that dangerous? We're looking at a piece of art that's not just an immortal lament, but, according to legend, it was also a death warrant.
Now, to really understand the depth of this poem, you first have to get to know the man who wrote it, Li Yu. He was the last emperor of the Southern Tang Dynasty, and his life, well, it was a dramatic story of incredible contrasts.
And this timeline really shows that stark journey. I mean, he was born into absolute luxury, became an emperor, only to lose his entire kingdom to the rising Song Dynasty. Those final 3 years of his life, they weren't spent as a ruler, but as a political prisoner in his enemy's capital.
This slide just captures the central conflict of Li Yu's legacy perfectly. On one hand, he was this brilliant artist, a master of poetry, calligraphy, music. His court was this vibrant hub of culture. But on the other hand, as a ruler, he completely neglected politics, which led directly to the downfall of his kingdom. It really brings to mind that old saying that seems like it was written just for him. The nation's misfortune is the poet's fortune.
And that, of course, brings us to the poem itself. He wrote this shortly before he died in captivity, and it's a piece that has just resonated for over 1,000 years. So let's experience it together, line by line.
Okay, so the first line in the original Chinese goes like this. 春花秋月何时了? 春花秋月何时了?
Which translates to, spring flowers, autumn moons, when will they end? Now for most poets, these are symbols of beauty, right? But for Li Yu, a prisoner, their endless cycle is a kind of torture. It's a constant, painful reminder of time just passing and passing while he remains trapped.
The second line reads, 往事知多少?往事知多少?
Of past events, how much is known? It's a rhetorical question, you know, but it's so heavy with regret. He's looking back on this incredible life of imperial splendor that now just feels like some distant, fading dream.
Then, the scene shifts right to his immediate surroundings. 小楼昨夜又东风.
From my small chamber, last night, again the east wind blew. That one word, again, yo, is just devastating. It means another spring has arrived, another year has passed while he's in captivity. That wind isn't some gentle breeze, it's another blow, another harsh reminder of everything he's lost.
And the first stanza ends with this absolute emotional gut punch. 故国不堪回首月明中.
My homeland, unbearable to recall, under the bright moon. You see, the beautiful moonlight, which should be a source of comfort, instead it just illuminates his pain. It makes the memory of his lost kingdom too sharp, too agonizing to even think about.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit more, because these lines are so layered with this painful contrast between what was and what is now. Just look at the stark contrast here. In his memory, his palace is defined by 雕栏玉砌. We're talking carved railings and jade stairs. But his reality now, it's just a 小楼, a small building, a prison. All that grandeur is gone, replaced by simple, crushing confinement. The poem then hits us with another powerful contrast. He writes that while the palace structures, the buildings themselves, might still be there, only the crimson cheeks have changed. Now, on the surface, he's talking about the beautiful women of his court growing older, but the real meaning is so much deeper. The permanent things, the stones, remain, but the life, the people, the entire vibrancy of his kingdom, it's all gone.
All right, let's move on to the poem's final 2 lines. And these contain one of the most famous and frankly devastating metaphors in all of Chinese literature.
It all kicks off with a really universal question, one that every single one of us has probably felt at some point. How do you even begin to measure sorrow? How do you quantify that feeling?
The poet asks himself, and he asks us, 温君能有几多愁? 温君能有几多愁? Ask me, how much sorrow can there be?
And here is his timeless, heartbreaking answer. 恰似一江春水向东流. Just like a river of spring water flowing east. And this isn't just some random image he pulled out of thin air. It is the perfect metaphor. Think about it. First, the sheer volume. The spring rains swell the river, making it huge and overwhelming, just like his sorrow. Second, its endlessness. A river just flows and flows constantly, mirroring a grief that never, ever ceases. And finally, its direction. The great rivers of China all flow east, an unstoppable, irreversible journey. Just like time itself, carrying him further and further away from a past he can never, ever get back.
But here's the thing. This poem wasn't just a personal expression of grief. No. In the eyes of his captor, the Song Emperor, this deep, painful longing for a homeland was a political statement. It was an act of defiance.
And as legend tells us, this beautiful work had deadly consequences. On his birthday, Li Yu supposedly had his former court musicians sing this new poem. The mournful sound carried all the way to the Song Palace. When Emperor Taizong heard these words of unabashed nostalgia for a lost kingdom, he didn't hear art. He heard treason, and he ordered Li Yu to be poisoned.
Which brings us all the way back to our central question. Was Li Yu a failed king whose negligence cost him absolutely everything, or was he one of history's most successful poets, whose political failure gave birth to an immortal work of art? You know, perhaps the answer is that he had to be both. His tragedy gave all of us a timeless expression of sorrow, proving that sometimes the most profound and beautiful art is born from the deepest pain.